I think at one point there you said something about sucking your own. Nope.
Blah! It's our first ever Spoops and Joloops. Ha 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 ha! And of course, to celebrate, we have the fiber optic skull. Look upon the evil and be afraid. As we reviewed.
Nope.
Welcome to Spooky July. Look deep into the skull's eyes. Notice how it makes you want to hit subscribe and like. Anyway, I'm TJ.
I'm Scott.
And this is a review.
Nope.
Before we get started on anything,
This is the Spoiler Skull.
The
Spoiler Skull.
is out.
Spoiler Skull.
We
Okay.
definitely had that ahead of time and didn't make it up right now.
Absolutely.
So this is how you know there's spoilers. Anyway, I liked it, didn't love it, do like it a lot.
I have a lot of mixed things about this movie, but let's get this out of the way right now. It's basically it's a movie about an alien spaceship that's maybe not an alien spaceship, but it is an alien spaceship, but it's not. Daniel Kaluuya, he plays a character named OJ. Keke Palmer is his sister. She plays Emerald. Their dad is Keith David, who plays their dad. I don't know. Yeah, Otis?
I think his name's Otis.
He's in the movie very briefly.
I wish they had more.
I love Keith David.
Yeah.
Hey, just do what you're doing.
The movie kind of takes place 6 months after his death, which is mysterious circumstances. Something happened, and basically that's kind of what you get into. Daniel Kaluuya's OJ character wants to photograph this. They want their Oprah moment, and
They'll be able to save the ranch, buy back the horses.
yeah.
It's pretty much, the basic summary.
So Stephen
Ricky?
Yeun's character in the movie, Ricky, who he's in the trailer a lot. He's kind of dressed like a cowboy. It's he's like a former child star.
Right. Assuming you've seen this, I thought he was going to be more in this based on how much he's in the trailer.
Well, and how much his character is set up in the film as well.
It feels like he has a bigger importance.
He has the most setup out of any character in this movie. And he has one of the most interesting and traumatic scenes in the movie, which doesn't really play into the movie. It does, but not to the... It's too much for it to justify what it is.
The movie opens on this character before we see
Daniel Kaluuya's character. Yeah, I think...
And it opens literally from his POV.
Yeah. And I think that's the problem, is this movie wants to be about two different characters, but you get more about a character that they kind of get rid of really early on, which I guess you could argue is like a bait and switch, but it also doesn't spend enough. It's never about that character.
No, I mean,
it never feels like it is about him.
The most we learn about OJ as a character is really from Emerald, his sister.
But you spend the most time with him. That's the weird thing, is like you don't get much information about him, but you spend the most time with him. This is basically like a glorified B movie.
You like jazz?
It felt like it was trying too hard.
So I normally don't like the chapters in movies. It didn't really bother me in this.
They felt meaningless to me.
But you could take those out and it'd be a minute faster movie.
But it's not about pacing, it's about presentation. It's not about it didn't take away from the time, but it's just about presentation wise, it's adding to this feeling of self-importance that this movie has, where it's like, oh, it's this deep message movie about that episode of The Simpsons when all the billboards came to life.
Just don't look, just don't look.
The big thing I think is that you're gonna like or hate about this movie is Keke Palmer. Keke Palmer is not the main character, but she's like the second lead.
She's the heart. I mean, I feel like she's the one you're more emotionally attached to as an audience.
Or emotionally detached to and can't stand, in my case.
I loved her.
She was driving me crazy. She was just irritating to me. To me,
she was great.
She just, there was no...
constant laughter.
There was no... That's it. She was just comedy. There was no...
Which I'm fine
There
with.
was no character to this, which this wasn't a comedy movie. This was a movie that needed a character. We needed something to ground her to.
So I feel that she is meant to be the grounding. Like, we see her perspective shift because it's her idea to get the Oprah moment.
Undeniable proof of aliens on camera. The Oprah shot.
And so, and then she's the first one to be like, let's leave the house. We gotta leave. And he's like, I'm not leaving. And so, like, I think her change of characters, really just that. And besides that, she's a supportive sister who's always hustling and trying to, like, do all her businesses, you know?
Go, baby! Let's go!
They set him up to be like the guy that knows everything about the horses,
Right.
and that she's the one that's kind of the one that's the face
Business,
of the presentation.
personality.
But then he sucks at being the face of. He sucks with the horses too.
He doesn't suck with the horses.
He couldn't do anything with them.
What do you mean?
They couldn't go near them. They couldn't put lights near them. They couldn't do anything. The whole job was to be a horse wrangler. And they get the horse on the set. And he's like, you can't be near the horse. You can't go on the horse.
Well,
I have to be right next to the horse. And it's like, I'm sorry, as somebody that's making a movie with a horse, you can't have the horse wrangler in the shot, like hanging onto the horse, like, hey, you have to follow all these rules. The point is that the horse can be punched in the face and fall to the ground like an acrobat and then get back up because it's a trained horse. The red herring in this movie, the kind of like red herring is that there's aliens instead of one beast. But there's a part where Daniel Kaluuya sees a bunch of like, you think they're aliens? They're like, they look like monkeys with like shaved heads. They're really creepy looking.
They're creepy, but they're awesome. They're really cool.
And they're just kids in costumes. Honestly, that was kind of the moment in the movie where it lost me. Where I was like, I was so like going with it, and there was so many misleads at that point where I was like, it's too many. You've misled me too much, and I don't care now.
I'm absolutely with you. That was the first misstep for me. The second misstep was when they called the director, and pretty much
cinematographer guy.
Yeah, and his character in general. Because that phone call just seems very unlikely it would ever happen or get that far. You know, like if you. Like,
you know what? I'll disagree there because they had the simple line of "I got your name off the call sheet," and I thought that was really funny. And that he just sighs and he's like, "What do you want?" And
sure.
I think like I actually really like this character.
He was too comic-y for me.
Cloud, he moved an inch.
See, that was Keke Palmer for me. This guy to me.
Yeah, this was this guy for me.
He was like a Tom Waits kind of character. I felt like he should have been played by Tom Waits, or they wanted it to be Tom Waits.
I need 3 wingback chairs from the bar. I need a bottle of Everclear. I need plenty of grease from the kitchen. And I want you to meet me on the 8th hole by the sand trap. 2 minutos. Pronto.
The electric stuff was ridiculous to me. That's where I get into like...
You gotta justify fries.
It's a monster. Why does it have to have electricity powers too? It's just too much.
It's like an invisible storm at times too. You know, like it makes things rain at certain times.
It's inconsistent in a way that I think it takes away from. If the movie had really just been a focus on there's this flying creature in the sky that's terrorizing this town, and somebody figures it out.
Right.
That's the movie.
I love the cloud thing. I wish that OJ could have figured out the cloud thing, because you do see him staring at that cloud throughout the whole movie.
The cloud thing is another thing that goes nowhere. They're like, oh, there's a single cloud that's sitting in the air, but then you see the thing bouncing between all the clouds, and it's like, well, why does it need the one cloud? Is that where it recharges?
It's like it's home cloud or something. See, there's like too many little things that lead to too many questions.
Yeah. That's my issue, is that like I think you either need it to be a complete mystery and you don't explain any of it and it's just what the or you get into it enough that you learn the ins and outs, the thing.
Right.
You learn that it can replicate human DNA, it can perfectly replicate a person, it can't do clothes. So it has to put on new clothes. Oh, every cell is an individual organism. If you attack it, it's going to defend itself.
Sure.
It has rules that you can figure out, and then you can figure out with the characters, how can we defeat this thing?
They try to do that same exact thing in this movie, but it's really that you can't look it in the eye.
I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth.
So final thoughts for
Nope.
Final thoughts about Nope. To me, it starts as a 5-star movie, and it slowly works its way down. I really love the characters. I enjoyed almost all of them. Some are a little too jokey at times for me, and some are a little too jokey at times for others, I'm sure. But overall, characters are very strong and cool. I wish we knew more about OJ as a lead. That would be my one pretty much note about him and his story. But besides that, I laughed a lot. I was thoroughly entertained. We've kind of discussed our problems already, so I don't need to say them again. I'm gonna give it 4 clouds, 4 non-moving clouds.
Yeah, I actually did enjoy this movie despite a lot of issues I had with it. I think you liked it more than I did. I think the problems got in the way for me more, but I did like a lot of this. I think it was very well shot. I think it was very well acted. I liked a lot of the characters. It's funny, like, you really liked Keke Palmer, and you really didn't like the camera guy, who neither of us remember his name. Nope. I was the opposite. I really kind of connected with the camera guy and really didn't like Keke Palmer and found her too cartoonish. So it's like both of us had a similar issue of like the characters weren't fully balanced and there was an issue there. And I think overall this movie is trying to spin one too many plates and ends up kind of fumbling them and not pulling off the execution as much as I would have liked. And it's disappointing because I think there's a lot of really interesting stuff here. I think the actual alien creature, when you finally see it fully sort of realized, is pretty unique and interesting and abstract in a way that you don't see in a lot of movies. So
I enjoyed that a lot. I got chills.
Yeah, I give that a lot of credit, and I think it's definitely worth seeing. But lower your expectations a little bit, and don't worry about this, oh, what's the message? It's just a fun B movie, and let it be that. I would give it 3.5 inflatable tube men out of 5 overall. This has been a review.
I'm TJ.
I'm Scott. This is our skull.
Spoiler School.
Goodbye now. It's about damn time. In a minute, I'ma need a supple woman to my and licking my crack up in the YouTube comments. Subscribe, my scoliosis is informed tonight.
That's when spoilers scroll.